Alright, so this is 2.6, graphs of basic functions. And you should already have the pictures of the graphs in your notes. There were 7 of them that you should have had in there. And so basically we are looking at problems 1 through 10. Or start with number 2. It says which one, so meaning which of the graphs, is the graph of f of x is equal to the absolute value of x, and on what interval is it increasing? So what does the absolute value function look like? What shape is it? Yes. And then once you find that, which letter A through I goes with it?
Oh, it's like.
Okay, so which one A through I is that?
E.
G.
No, I mean G. Yeah,
G. Okay, so an absolute value function is a V. Okay, because positive and negative values all result in a positive value. And then when it's talking about what interval is it increasing, that's just where the values as x gets bigger, y also gets bigger. And so in this case, that would be from 0 to infinity. Four, which is not a graph of a function, so out of A through I, which one is not a function? You may have to think back to something we did earlier in this chapter.
That would be C.
Okay, why?
Because the vertical line test.
Yep. C, because of the vertical line test, because basically that's a parabola that's been flipped sideways, and so there are two y values for one x value, which we can't have. All right, this next one is going to be denoted a little differently than you would be used to. Number 6, it says, which one is the graph of f of x is equal to, it's kind of this like weird bracket thing. But basically it's the, I don't know what we called it, the greatest integer function, which I think might have been in your notes, but normally you'd see it as int of x. So this is that same notation, also known as a piecewise function. And then it wants to know what does it say? What is the function value when x is equal to 1.5? So which graph is the greatest integer function out of those options? Which one? Yep. B. And then it wants to know what the function value is when x is equal to 1.5. So x is 1.5. We're looking at, so between the 1 and the 2 on the x-axis, we're looking for what that y value is. And so what y value does that take on there? 1, yep. All right, number 8. Which one is the graph of f of x is equal to the square root of x, and what is its domain? What?
D.
Yes, D. And then what is the domain of a square root function? What values of x does it take on? This might have also been in your notes.
0 to infinity.
Yep, 0 to infinity, and we include 0 because we can have 0 under a radical. All right, one more. Number 10. It says, which graphs of functions decrease over part of the domain and increase over the rest of the domain? And then the follow-up to that is, on what open intervals do they increase and decrease? So basically, which two graphs go down and then they come back up?
Right.
That one's increasing the whole time. You're looking for some graph that goes down first as x gets bigger, and then at some point turns around and goes back up. There are 2 of them out of A through I.
F.
That one's constantly increasing.
We're getting close.
You need something that goes down first,
Okay.
then back up. Which one?
E.
Yes, E is one of them.
Oh.
There's one
G.
more.
G.
E and G. Okay, and so then the intervals on which they are increasing and decreasing, we need to specify. 0 to what? And is that increasing or decreasing?
Could be infinity to 0.
For increasing or decreasing? So negative infinity, is that what you said? Okay. Negative infinity to 0. And that's going to be for both of them, just because of the way they are. Whoops, not negative 0, that's something. Negative infinity to 0. And then they're increasing from what to what?
0 to infinity.
Yep, 0 to infinity. You don't have to be overly worried about increasing and decreasing, but it's good for you to have an kind of intro to what that looks like. So, any questions about these? All right, then your problems are 1 through 9 odd. So the way I usually do this section is basically, if we didn't do problems on it, you don't need it. So pretty much the only thing that you will be tested or quizzed on are these 10 questions. Okay, we just did some of them. You're going to do the rest. And then possibly I might ask you to tell me what these functions' graphs look like or their domain and ranges. So for this section, pretty much, you actually need the notes for this section, and then the problems that we did. So I may not give you the graph, so I may just say which function is this. So you would tell me, say with number 2, to go back to the page to see what graph that was. Which one is the graph of f of x is equal to the absolute value of x? That might be asking you to draw it instead of saying, I'm not going to give you 9 graphs and have you matching them. I would be asking you specifically to tell me what it looks like or something like that with that. So
we have to know all this.
Yeah. So all 7 of the basic functions that are in the notes, and then make sure you can answer all these questions from 1 through 10. So I just did all the even ones. The odd ones, when you're done, I would check them in the back to make sure you have them right so you don't study the wrong thing.